Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. In the previous lecture, we had started the structural and functional organization of the nervous system, and in the last lecture, we discussed in detail the structural organization of the brain, which is a part of the central nervous system. And in today's lecture, we are going to talk about the structural organization of the spinal cord. The spinal cord is a long, thin tubular structure which is made up of nervous tissue, or we can say it is a cylindrical structure which is made up of nervous tissue. It appears grayish white in color, and the spinal cord it extends from the medulla oblongata, which is the part of the hindbrain, and it forms part of the brain stem as well, to the lumbar region. This is the extension of the spinal cord. It extends from the medulla oblongata to the lumbar region. The spinal cord ends up between the first and the second lumbar vertebra, or you can say that spinal cord ends up at the lower border of the first lumbar vertebra in adults. The spinal cord is short than the vertebral column, so it does not extend throughout the length of the vertebral column. Instead, it ends up at the lower border of the first lumbar vertebra in an adult. When it ends up, its lower end is tapered. The tapering lower end of the spinal cord is known as conus modularis. So, conus modularis is the tapering lower end of the spinal cord. Spinal cord functions mainly in the transmission of the nerve signals. It transmits the nerve signals from the motor cortex to the body, or we can say that it transmits the nerve signals from the brain to the periphery of the body, to the effector organs in the body, which include the muscles, glands, and among the muscles we have the cardiac muscles, smooth muscles, and we have the skeletal muscles. And on the other hand, it transmits the signals from the periphery, from the skin and the subcutaneous tissue, and from the receptors present within the body to the sensory cortex. So it takes the information to the brain, and it carries the information from the brain to the periphery. So this is in general the function of the spinal cord. In detail, we are going to discuss the functions of the spinal cord subsequently in the coming lectures. Coming to the structure of the spinal cord. Now, spinal cord has a segmental organization. It is divided into segments. Although there is no anatomical segmentation present in the spinal cord, but basically this segmentation is functional. So functionally it is divided into segments, and based on the number of the spinal nerves that arise from the surface of the spinal cord, it is divided into 31 segments. So we say that there is a segmental organization of the spinal cord, and this segmental organization of the spinal cord is on the basis of the spinal nerves that arise from the surface of the spinal cord. Since there are 31 pair of the spinal nerves that arise from the surface of the spinal cord, so the spinal cord, it has 31 segments. So the spinal nerves that arise from the spinal cord, there are 31 pairs. Of these 31 pairs, there are 8 pairs of the cervical spinal nerves. Here you can see in this diagram, this is the brain, the detailed structure of which we discussed in the previous lecture, and this is the spinal cord, and we can see that this spinal cord is divided into segments. So there is cervical segment, there is thoracic segment, lumbar segment, and there is a sacral segment of the spinal cord. And of the 31 pair of the spinal nerves, 8 pairs are of cervical spinal nerves. So 8 pairs of spinal nerves arise from the cervical division or the cervical segments of the spinal cord, while 12 pair of the spinal nerves arise from the thoracic division or thoracic part of the segments of the spinal cord. 12 pair of spinal nerves arise from the thoracic part of the spinal segments, while there are 5 pairs of the lumbar spinal nerves, and there are 5 pairs of the sacral nerves, and while there is 1 pair of the coccygeal nerve. So total there are 31 pair of spinal nerves, 8 being arising from the cervical segments, 12 pairs arise from the thoracic segments, 5 pair of spinal nerves arise from the lumbar segments, 5 from the sacral, and 1 pair of spinal nerve arise from the coccygeal segment of the spinal cord. And in this diagram we can also see that the spinal cord, it does not run throughout the length of the vertebral column. It is shorter in length than the vertebral column. Here it tapers at the lower border of the L1 vertebra, or we can say it ends up between L1 and L2 vertebra in adults. Now this diagram shows us the further detailed structure of the spinal cord. Here again we can see this is the vertebral column, and this is the spinal cord present in it. This is the terminal part, the cauda equina, and the tapering lower end is this is the conus modularis. Now we can see in this diagram that there are spinal nerves. This is a spinal nerve arising from the surface of the spinal cord. That each spinal nerve that arises from the surface of the spinal cord, it has 2 roots. I am repeating that each spinal nerve that arises from the surface of the spinal cord, it has 2 roots, a dorsal root or the posterior root or the dorsal root, and anterior root or the ventral root. So anterior root is there, which is also known as ventral root of the spinal nerve, and there is a posterior root which is also known as dorsal root of the spinal nerve. Both the posterior and the anterior roots, they unite to form the spinal nerve. The posterior root of the spinal nerve, it has an enlargement which is the dorsal root ganglion. This enlargement is the dorsal root ganglion. Now this dorsal root ganglion contains the cell bodies of the sensory neurons. I am repeating that the posterior root is associated with the dorsal root ganglion, which contains the cell bodies of the sensory neurons. Now there is a law regarding the anterior and the posterior root of the spinal nerve. The posterior root of the spinal nerve or the dorsal root of the spinal nerve is always sensory, and the anterior root or the ventral root of the spinal nerve is always motor. Now this law is known as the Bell-Megendie law. Again I am repeating, Bell-Megendie law. It is very important viva question, as well as it is being asked in the MCQs. Bell-Megendie law states that in the spinal cord, ventral root is all motor and the dorsal root is sensory. So this is about the Bell-Megendie's law. Now further discussing the structure of the spinal cord. This slide shows us the transverse section of the spinal cord. Here again in this diagram we can clearly see the 2 roots of the spinal nerve. The posterior root of the spinal nerve associated with the dorsal root ganglion, which is the collection of the cell bodies of the sensory neurons, and there is an anterior root of the spinal nerve, and anterior root or the ventral root is the motor root. And we can see in this diagram that the spinal cord, it can be divided, it is divided basically, it is divided into two halves, two symmetrical halves, by a posterior median sulcus and the anterior median fissure. So I am repeating it again, that the spinal cord is divided into two symmetrical halves by posterior median sulcus. This is the posterior median sulcus, and this is the anterior median fissure. So posterior median sulcus and anterior median fissure divide the spinal cord into two symmetrical halves. Each half of the spinal cord is composed of the gray matter and the white matter. Each half of the spinal cord is composed of the gray matter and the white matter. Now, gray matter is basically the collection of the neuronal cell bodies, while the white matter is composed of the nerve fibers. So in this diagram, this is the white matter of the spinal cord, this is the white matter of the spinal cord, and this in the center, this is the gray matter. So gray matter of the spinal cord is organized in H-shaped manner. The gray matter of the spinal cord is organized in H-shaped manner, or like a butterfly, and the white matter, it surrounds the gray matter. In the center of the spinal cord, there is a canal which is called as central canal, and this central canal, it is filled with cerebrospinal fluid. I am repeating it again, that in the center of the spinal cord there is a canal which is called as central canal or the spinal canal, and this is filled with cerebrospinal fluid. Now first we are going to discuss the white matter of the spinal cord in detail, and then we will talk about the gray matter present in the spinal cord. Now the white matter of the spinal cord, it is divided into three columns. The white matter of the spinal cord is divided into three columns: the anterior white column, lateral white column, and the posterior white column. So there are three columns in the white matter of the spinal cord. Anterior white column, this is the anterior white column on one side, this is the anterior white column on the other side, and there is a lateral white column, this is the lateral white column on the one side, and this is the lateral white column on the other side, and there is a posterior white column. So this is the posterior white column of one side, and this is of the other side. So three columns are there in the white matter of the spinal cord. Again I am repeating, there is anterior white column, there is a lateral white column, and there is a posterior white column. Now what is present in the white column? I just told you that the white column, it contains the ascending and descending nerve fibers. These ascending and descending nerve fibers, they form the pathways or the tracks in the white column of the spinal cord. So here in this diagram we can see the ascending and the descending pathways or the tracks present in the white matter of the spinal cord, and these ascending and descending tracks basically are the nerve fibers which carries the different sensations from the peripheral parts of the body to the cerebral cortex for the analysis, interpretation, and for formulation of the responses in the light of this information. So in the white matter we have ascending tracks. Ascending tracks means the tracks are sensory in nature, and they are responsible to carry the sensation from the receptors to the cerebral cortex. And descending tracts are the motor tracts, and these motor tracts carry the commands from the cerebral cortex to the effector organs. So in the spinal cord we have ascending tracts going up to the cerebral cortex and higher brain areas, and descending tracts which originate from the higher brain areas or from the cortical areas and the other brain areas, and then they descend through the spinal cord, and they ultimately the fibers reach different effector organs. So we have in the in the ascending tracts we have dorsal white column. So this is the dorsal white column present in the dorsal part of the spinal cord, and we have a spinocerebellar tract. The spinocerebellar tract is further divided into two parts, the anterior spinocerebellar tract and the posterior spinocerebellar tract. And we have a very important ascending tract in this white matter of the spinal cord. This is the spinothalamic tract. Now spinothalamic tract, it has again two divisions, the anterior division or the anterior spinothalamic tract and the lateral spinothalamic tract. Now each tract is responsible to carry the specific sensations, respective sensations to the cerebral cortex. Now coming to the descending tracts. I just told you that descending tracts are the motor tracts. These originate from the different areas of the brain and they then descend through the spinal cord to reach their effector organs. Among the descending tracts, the most important tract is the corticospinal tract. The corticospinal tract, it has two divisions. The lateral corticospinal tract, as you can see here in this diagram, this is the lateral corticospinal tract, and the other division of the corticospinal tract is the anterior or the ventral division. So you have a lateral corticospinal tract and you have an anterior corticospinal tract. The anterior corticospinal tract is also known as ventral corticospinal tract. This is the major descending pathway. Then in addition to the corticospinal tract, the other tracts are also present in the white column. Other descending tracts are also present in the white column of the spinal cord, and these include the reticulospinal tract, rubrospinal tract, and we have tectospinal tract and vestibulospinal tract. So we are going to discuss all these ascending and descending tracts in detail. We are going to discuss the pathway and the sensations carried by these tracts and the effects of the lesions of the tracts in the coming lectures. So this was about the white matter of the spinal cord. Now we are going to discuss the gray matter present in the spinal cord. As I told you that the gray matter in the spinal cord, it is H-shaped. It is organized in an H-shaped manner. Here you can see this is the gray matter of the spinal cord. Now the gray matter of the spinal cord, it is divided. It has horns. The anterior horn, this is the anterior horn of the gray matter of the spinal cord, and it has a posterior horn. Again I am repeating that the gray matter in the spinal cord, it has an anterior horn. This is the anterior horn of the spinal cord, and a posterior horn, which is or a dorsal horn. This is it. And in certain segments of the spinal cord, between T1 to L2 segments, there is a lateral horn also present in the spinal cord. Again I am repeating that throughout the length of the spinal cord, the gray matter, it has two horns, the anterior horn and the posterior horn, while in the spinal cord segments from T1, that is the first thoracic segment of the spinal cord, to the second lumbar segment of the spinal cord, there is an intermediolateral horn or a lateral horn also present in the spinal cord. So the total there are three horns: anterior, posterior, and the lateral horn. But the lateral horn is not present throughout the length of the spinal cord. Instead, it extends from the T1 to L2 segments of the spinal cord. Now the gray horn, the gray matter of the spinal cord, it has the neurons. Now the neurons which are present in the gray matter of the spinal cord, they are divided into different nuclear groups. There are nuclear groups present in the posterior horn of the spinal cord, and there are nuclear groups present in the anterior horn of the spinal cord. So in the posterior horn of the spinal cord, there are four main nuclear groups present, while in the anterior horn of the spinal cord, we have the two types of the nuclei, or two nuclear groups are present, or we can say two types of neurons are present in the anterior horn. So first we are going to discuss the posterior horn of the spinal cord. So in posterior horn of the spinal cord, there are four groups of neurons present, and these neuronal groups are: number one, there is substantia gelatinosa. It is a neuronal group present in the posterior horn of the spinal cord. It is present at the apex of the posterior horn, as you can see in this diagram. This is the substantia gelatinosa, a neuronal group present in the posterior horn of the spinal cord at its apex, and it extends throughout the length of the spinal cord. The neurons present in this group receive signals regarding pain, temperature, and touch. I am repeating that the neurons which are present in the substantia gelatinosa, they receive the signals regarding pain, temperature, and touch. Then the other nuclear group present in the posterior horn of the spinal cord is nucleus proprius. This is the nucleus proprius. Now nucleus proprius is present anterior to substantia gelatinosa. So this is anterior, this is posterior, most part of the gray matter of the spinal cord, and this is the anterior. So it is present anterior to the substantia gelatinosa. Now the neurons which are present in this in the nucleus proprius, they receive the nerve fibers carrying the impulses about proprioception, 2-point tactile discrimination, and vibration. So while we are discussing these neuronal groups, we can also make it out that we have different types of somatic sensations, and different types of somatic sensations end up, the signals of different somatic sensations end up in different regions of the gray matter of the spinal cord. So nucleus proprius, it receives the signals, it receives the nerve fibers carrying the impulses about proprioception, 2-point tactile discrimination, and vibration. The third nuclear group which is present in the spinal cord is known as the Clark's column. This is it, Clark's column. It is also known as nucleus dorsalis. The other name for the Clark's column is nucleus dorsalis. Now the Clark's column or the nucleus dorsalis is not present throughout the length of the spinal cord. Rather than it is present from C8 to L4 segments of the spinal cord. I am repeating that nucleus dorsalis, which is also known as Clark's column, is not present, it does not extend throughout the length of the spinal cord. Instead, it extends only from C8 segment of spinal cord to the L4 segment of the spinal cord. The neurons which are present in the Clark's column receive the nerve fibers which carry the impulses from muscle spindle. It It receives the signals from muscle spindle. Now muscle spindles are receptors which are present within the skeletal muscles. Muscle spindles are special receptors present within the skeletal muscles. The fourth neuronal group present in the dorsal horn or present in the posterior horn of the spinal cord is the visceral afferent nucleus. Visceral afferent nucleus. Now visceral afferent nucleus, it receives the sensory nerve fibers from the viscera. Visceral afferent nucleus receives the sensory nerve fibers from the viscera, and it is present from T1 to L2 segments of the spinal cord. In this part of the diagram, here you can see the visceral afferent nucleus. So this is the posterior horn where different neuronal groups are present. This is substantia gelatinosa, which is present in the most dorsal part. Anterior to substantia gelatinosa, we have nucleus proprius, then we have the Clark's column, and the fourth one is the visceral afferent nucleus. So here you can see the visceral afferent nucleus, and the neurons in this nucleus receive the sensory nerve fibers from the viscera. So this was about the posterior horn of the spinal cord. Now coming to the lateral horn. This is the lateral horn of the spinal cord. I have told you already that lateral horn of the spinal cord is present in the thoracic segments of the spinal cord and in the first two lumbar segments of the spinal cord. So it extends from T1 to L2 segments. T1 say start all the thoracic segments, and the first two lumbar segments of the spinal cords have this projection which is called as the lateral horn of the spinal cord. And the lateral horn of the spinal cord, it has the neurons which give rise to the preganglionic sympathetic fibers. So here are the neuronal cell bodies which give rise to preganglionic sympathetic nerve fibers, or you can simply say that these are the sympathetic preganglionic neurons. So let me tell you that in autonomic nervous system you have two divisions, two motor divisions, the sympathetic and parasympathetic division, and each of the parasympathetic and the sympathetic division have the preganglionic neurons and the postganglionic neurons. So the preganglionic neurons of sympathetic division of the autonomic nervous system are present in the lateral horn, or sometimes is also known as the intermediolateral horn. These contain the preganglionic sympathetic neurons and is present in T1 to from T1 to L2 segments of the spinal cord. So this was about the lateral horn. Now coming to the anterior horn of the spinal cord. The anterior horn of the spinal cord. So this is the anterior horn of the spinal cord. Now anterior horn of the spinal cord, it contains the motor neurons. It contains the motor neurons that innervate the muscles of the limbs, cervical, lumbar, and the lower limbs, both the upper limbs, lower limbs, and all the muscles of your neck and the back and the trunk. Okay? So these contains the motor neurons. Now there are two types of motor neurons present in the anterior horn of the spinal cord. There are two types of neurons present in the anterior horn of the spinal cord, the alpha motor neurons and the gamma motor neurons. Alpha motor neurons and the gamma motor neurons are the two types of neurons present in the anterior horn of the gray matter of the spinal cord. The alpha motor neurons, they innervate the extrafusal fibers of the skeletal muscles. I am repeating again that the alpha motor neurons innervate the extrafusal fibers of the skeletal muscles, while the gamma motor neurons supply the intrafusal fibers present in the skeletal muscles. So our skeletal muscles have two types of fibers, the extrafusal fibers and the intrafusal fibers. The extrafusal fibers are innervated by alpha motor neurons, and the intrafusal fibers are innervated by the gamma motor neurons. The motor neurons in the anterior gray column are divided into three nuclear groups. There are of two types, and these are divided into three nuclear groups: the lateral nuclear group, central nuclear group, and the medial nuclear group. Lateral, central, and the medial nuclear group in the anterior horn of the spinal cord. So this was about the motor neurons present in the anterior horn of the spinal cord. Now you can also see that in the other half there is a somewhat different way of dividing the gray matter of the spinal cord. So we can divide divide the spinal cord in two ways, the gray matter of the spinal cord in two ways. One is that we have just studied, that it has an anterior and posterior horn which has different nuclear groups, and it also has a lateral horn in certain segments of the spinal cord. The other way to divide the gray matter of the spinal cord is to divide it into lamina. So different layers are present in the gray matter of the spinal cord. So starting from the dorsal aspect to the ventral aspect, there are 10 lamina present, or we can say the gray matter of the spinal cord is divided into 10 lamina. Lamina 1, lamina 2, lamina 3, 4, 5, 6, then 7, 8, 9 and 10. So two ways of dividing the gray matter. One is dividing it into nuclear groups, and the other way is by dividing it into lamina. And from dorsal to the ventral side, there are 10 lamina present in the gray matter of the spinal cord. So this was about the structure of the spinal cord, and this slide is basically to show you the types of the muscle fibers present in the skeletal muscles. So this is a skeletal muscle. It has two types of fibers. These fibers are extrafusal fibers, and within the extrafusal fibers close to the tendons, there are specialized muscle fibers present in the skeletal muscles, which are called as intrafusal fibers. So these are the intrafusal fibers, and there are two types of neurons present in the anterior horn of the spinal cord: the alpha motor neurons, which are large neurons, and these innervate the extrafusal fibers, and the other types of neurons are the gamma motor neurons, which are small neurons, and these innervate the intrafusal muscle fibers present in the skeletal muscles. So this was about the structural organization of the spinal cord. We have already discussed the peripheral nervous system. This diagram is just to show you that the peripheral nerves, they are present throughout the body, and there is a network of the nerves present in the body, and in association with the ganglion, these together form the peripheral nervous system, and we have discussed it in detail in our previous lecture. So this was about the structural and the functional organization of the nervous system. We have discussed the complete physiological anatomy of the nervous system. The last thing that we are going to discuss is the dermatome, and from the next lecture, inshallah, we are going to start with the functions, and in that first we are going to discuss the synapses present in the nervous system. So what is a dermatome? Dermatome is the area of the skin which is supplied by a single spinal nerve or a single spinal segment. In the beginning of the lecture, we had discussed that there are spinal nerves which arise from the surface of the spinal cord, and due to these nerves, there are different segments. From one segment, one spinal nerve arises. So the area of the skin which is supplied by a single spinal nerve or a single spinal segment is known as dermatome. Now this is the figure showing you the dermatomal distribution of the body. You can see different areas of the skin, they are innervated by the different segments of the spinal cord. So T2, this is the dermatome which is supplied by the T2 spinal nerve. This is by T3, T4 and so on. So this is the entire dermatomal distribution or the innervation of the body, skin of innervation of the skin by different spinal segments of the spinal cord. So that's all for today, and today I have a self-study topic for you, that you are going to study the classification of nerve fibers. You must have discussed it in the topic of nerve and muscle physiology. So I just want you to revise it. So revise the classification of the nerve fibers, because this is a topic which overlaps in these two systems. It also comes under the topic of nervous system and also comes under the topic of nerve and muscle physiology. I hope you understand the lecture, and if you have any query, you are free to ask questions. Thank you for your listening.